Welcome again to Mystic Revolution. And Wendy has a lot to say about the divine and how we can access the divine ourselves. So I invite you to just go for it.
Welcome to Mystic Revolution. Join Susana and Wendy for insightful conversations and guided meditations.
As always, we like to start our episodes with a little meditation to get us in sync and grounded. So I invite you to just take a moment and close your beautiful eyes and let yourself settle into yourself. Let's take some deep breaths in, breathing in and breathing out. And allow the rhythm of your breath to draw your focus inward. Draw your focus out of your head space into your heart space. See if you can feel the weight of your body on your chair or on the floor, maybe on your bed if you're lying down. And let your breath call in your interpretation, your sense of the divine. In this next episode, we're going to be talking about just that. And so as you breathe in and breathe out, let yourself totally feel divine presence in your body and around you. And with that, go ahead and open your eyes. And we're joining the wonderful Wendy R. Wolf.
Yes, and the context is that we're talking about why Mystic Revolution, why now?
Yes.
And we've been on this wonderfully long conversation about why it makes a difference that we're mystics. Why bother?
Why it makes a difference. Yeah.
Why bother? And to go right for the divine conversation, before we started, we were talking about, I was saying that except in religious conversations, we don't talk about the divine. We don't talk about experiencing light within or being in the flow of love. Like mostly in a social conversations, we're not talking about these things, the divine or spirit, unless it's religious. And that's really sad. I think sometimes among mystics, I'm hearing these conversations and I'm thrilled. And that's why today we're really focusing on this. What a difference it can make to be able to, what we've been talking about, to master the capacities to perceive and to be able to make change, to get our free will back and our capacity to act and to choose, to be aligned with our source or not,
Yes.
to walk in alignment with the information we get from our
Totally.
souls or not.
Yes.
To become the captain of our life, of our ship, the masters of our destiny, so that we can have the choice of when the spiritual information says go left, we can go left.
Yes.
Instead of, oh, well, I'm trained to be right, and the lady down the street thinks right is the way, and my mother always said right. And, you know, it's a big deal to have the freedom, like you were talking about, to be able to see what the way is, what the right choice is, and do it is a really big deal.
Absolutely. And so talk a little bit about seeing the right way for ourselves and getting in the flow of the divine, and how your experience and how some people think about this, think about source, think about the divine. I know you have a lot of experience talking with people about this.
I do have a lot of experience. And what I want to say is that what I have to say about it isn't that important.
Mm.
What I think matters to both of us, Susan, is that we create a context in which people can have direct experience.
Yes.
And that's what's important.
Sure.
And I believe each of us have our own truly unique experience of the divine. And I believe that's always changing. If we're lucky, if we're in process, if we're growing up in our soul, that experience is always changing. So one of the ways I like to talk about it, I think I said this a couple weeks ago, one of the pictures of divine experience or connecting heaven and earth is the mountain. Did I talk about this? The mountain. And so sometimes people talk about the different ways up the mountain to having, it's available to every day. Like we can go, here's the mountain, I can walk up on it and I can get to the top and, like Moses or whatever, there's lots of people who are famous for these things. We can come from anywhere around the mountain, and just like the tale of the blind man and the elephant. Are you familiar with that tale, the blind man and the elephant?
I think you should share that. Yeah.
Yeah. They come to the elephant, and one blind man is like on the side of the elephant, being like, "It's a wall." Mm-hmm. Another one is like with the trunk, "It's a snake."
Yeah.
They're on and on with the ears. "It's a fan."
Yes.
The legs. "It's a trunk." Like we all have a piece when we're around the mountain of divine experience. We get our perspective.
Yes.
But it doesn't make yours wrong. It just makes yours a different perspective.
Yes.
And so, like, one thing I like to talk about is everybody sees an accident differently from a different corner. It's the same thing, except, it doesn't have to be bad, but everybody has a different perspective, and it's not wrong. My perspective is right for me. It's so important as a mystic to be owning my experience. But an important part from my perspective, we call it certainty. My experience, when I know I'm really owning it, is when I'm validating you have a different experience, and that's good. That's not just okay, it's good.
Absolutely. And I mean, particularly when we're talking about the divine or the God of your heart or the beloved or sun source or vital force energy or nature, whatever it is, however you perceive it, however you tune into it is uniquely you. And in fact, we are each unique facets of the divine, the great spirit, all of that. And so of course we have different experiences. Of course. And to your point about really owning and acknowledging this, and mysticism has helped me do this tremendously. I'm okay having a radically different perspective and opinion on God or on anything, because of getting the training and the perspective to really see this, see exactly what you were talking about.
Can I say more?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, that whole everybody like is a divine spark or whatever. Like it reminds me of Indra's net, which is I think a Hindu picture. That it like my picture of that is like everybody's a diamond full of light, and we're all connected.
Yes.
Like net. And so that's a totally different paradigm. Very important though. Like from within, we have an experience that's here, and then we have like also an experience that's outside of us.
Yeah.
And I really like how we do it with some of our tools, because we go back and forth with internal divine experience, external divine experience, without a lot of religious stuff. Just symbols.
Absolutely. It can be done completely without any religious stuff or any spiritual language whatsoever.
Yes.
I mean, it could even be broken down into a system that someone who had no innate belief in God, but wanted to understand energy and levels of energy and vibration. And so, yeah, that's what I love so much about what we do. And so when we talk about,
So I just,
please.
yeah. So the thing about the mountain is that we can come from wherever on the mountain. I think the important part is, I think that I've seen people, what I see doesn't work is to like start and then go back down and go somewhere else, and start and go back to, I see, oh, wait, okay, this month I'm doing, doing this, and okay, that's going to save me, but it doesn't. Okay, let me go over here. Oh, it's going to save me. It doesn't. It's like the important part is to keep going up the mountain, and doesn't mean we can't move, but
Right.
like not go back down, not start over, not think it's going to save us today, in a month. It's going to completely change our lives, and we'll be rich and famous and wonderful or whatever. It gets in the way. It gets in the way.
Well, and it gets back to your point about how our experience of the divine changes. And when you don't give up on going up the mountain, from one day to the next, your understanding, your relationship to that mountain changes, even if you're on the same path, right? Even if you go up and you come down again, and you're like, okay, I'm going to try again.
Yes.
It changes your relationship to the mountain, to the path, to your relationship with the divine and source energy in your own life. And the nuances start to come in ways that you might not have expected when first starting on the journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's really why I wanted to come back to this mountain image, because for me, I've come to the place where it helps me really understand people and validate them where they are, and me where I am, to notice, okay, there's all around the mountain. And then there's, as we go up, our perspective totally changes. We, you could say we develop in our soul, or we open in our soul, or we melt away things from our soul, however, whatever the paradigm. As I go up the mountain, my experience of the divine changes radically.
Right.
Radically changes. And I don't hear a lot, I don't hear all the talk about it. And I think it's very important to understand. So like when I'm talking to someone, what I do is, it's natural for me as a reader healer, I kind of go to where they are on the mountain and be like, okay, that perspective makes sense. And they can, I validate them, which they may not always get. And then I'm like, that's great, but it's not my perspective. And I go back to my perspective where I am on the mountain. It's my experience. And I think that's just very useful. It's very helpful for our culture to be modeling this.
Yeah.
That you're okay, I'm okay. You're valid, I'm valid. You're right, I'm right.
And I'm going to add on to that. This is more than just being empathic.
Oh,
it's more than empathy. A lot of people talk about being empaths. It's much more than that. There's a higher level of discernment, of awareness, of moving perspectives, and of holding more of sort of the objective observer space rather than someone that is feeling all the feelings.
Right.
Radically different.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a very important point, Susan. It's not all about feeling the feelings.
Yeah.
Feelings are great. They're great for body communication, and they have their place, and it's not all the places.
Yeah. But it's when that, I love the word alignment, and you used it. When you find that alignment in yourself, it's that sense of clarity that it is like you've integrated your mind, body, and spirit, and you can feel that integration. And out of that gives a level of vision and clarity that really puts you in a heightened state of compassion, but also objectivity, I'm just going to say.
Yes. Yes. And my perception of this is that part of it is I'm aligned. I'm supported by heaven and earth. I've got
Yes.
everything that I need, and I'm in flow. And so I'm not starving trying to get from someone,
Yeah.
whatever it is, validation or love or whatever. I that's not there, especially when I'm actively aligned. It's just not there.
It's not
And
there.
so it makes me able, makes us, all of us, able to go and really stand in somebody's shoes
Yes.
and be able to validate their experience because they're hungry and they're thirsty and they need validation and love. And then they can start to align more, and then they don't need it. And then they can do it too. And it grows. This is, what we're talking here is, why does it matter that we're mystics? It matters because we're full, we're aligned with source, we're standing on the rock, like we talked last time, of our direct spiritual experience. And we can not just walk in it and be love and all that, we can spread the good infection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think the good infection, that really is being able to honor ourselves and honor others, without any hierarchical structure, without any, I'm better, you're less than, lack belief system. And, I know we're talking about it pretty easily. It's not, obviously there are layers to this and different things folks go through. I went through to be able to feel strong. That this is more my default place of living now than it was. It's not always there. I have to do things to get myself back there.
Yeah.
But for the most part, this is where, after years of practice and leaning into that, this is where I live, and it does make a difference. I know it makes a difference in my own life. I'm certain it makes a difference in the lives of those around me too. Just revisiting a few ugly moments from my past, right? I mean, yeah.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm aligned. I'm full of light and love. Now I'm not. Ah!
Yeah, and the thing about it is, right, alignment is not any false sense of like, oh, I'm love and light and living whatever, unicorns, stars, and rainbows. It's not that at all. It's like it's an intentional state.
Yes.
It's
and
pulling yourself into an intentional state.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's like even just the willingness. I'm willing to align with
Mm-hmm.
light. Okay, I am.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even do it all myself necessarily, but I can ask and receive it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
ask and receive it. And there's so many ways to get there. For someone, it might be going to church, temple, mosque. For someone else, I mean, just going outside and looking up. I mean, I'm lucky. I look out and I'm kind of surrounded by trees, and it's just like, I can't help but not get that inspiration in me. So
yeah, jumping in the cold water for me.
Yeah,
that's
me
always
too.
a good reset.
Totally.
Yeah. So I would like to validate that I know a lot of people that I consider mystics, that I consider, they're not just psychic, they're not just soul readers and seers and healers and spiritual leaders. They are in alignment with source, and we all have different words for that source.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like I'm like this with the God word, like I'm like, well, it works. God word works, people kind of know what I'm talking about, but then all this baggage comes with it.
Right.
And I like the source word, but not everybody understands what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I love spirit, but it's a little vague, so like it's so funny to look at my mystic friends and be like, oh, this person's, really into God. This person's really into walking their way in alignment with their spiritual information. No God word. This person just all into love, 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 love. This person's really into truth. And for me, in my walk since I'm a teenager, it's gone from it jumps, it depends, because I'm naturally intellectual agnostic. So like it jumps from like, okay, I'm dedicated to truth. I don't really know about this God worth, but truth can get me through. And then shit happens and I'm just like, oh, I don't know about this truth, but love will get me through. And then love
Yes.
is a little mushy and I don't really know. Okay, well, spirit will get me through. And to be able to just stay with however source is available to us and mattering to us in the time of our development and just keeping going, I think is very cool.
Yeah.
Notice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I have had a number of ways of interpreting source energy in my lifetime. Sometimes it's through an archetype or a deity of a certain tradition. And we'll talk more about that and the different kinds of energies of that. But having a focal point, a picture of something, can sometimes help one find that alignment when things seem totally out of sorts. And I know all of you know what I'm talking about. It might be looking at a tree. It might be a picture of Jesus or Freya from the pagan Norse pagan tradition. There are all sorts of ways that we find our way to it. We'll take a break now and we'll come back in just a few moments.
Thank you, We Are Historically, for your conscious human apparel. Shop online at wearehistorically.com.
Raise your vibration and energize your life with specialized Fibonacci tuning forks to deepen meditations and empower self-healing. Get your vibrational sound tools for personal enhancement at energybodytuners.com.
Hi, friends. We are back with the last half of this episode of Mystic Revolution, and we've been talking about source energy, the divine, and how to understand it, how to tap into it, how to work with it. And Wendy, I know you had a few last words to say.
Yeah. One thing I didn't say is that one of my favorite things over a long time now, as my experience of the divine has shifted, is talking about dancing with the divine. I love that image.
Yes.
It came from an earlier vision when I was like 29 years old, and it stayed with me. So I just want to say that the whole point of a lot of what we've been saying for weeks now is, as mystics, we make our difference, and part of that is we're dedicated to living from the inside out. We're passionate. We're passionate about something around our source, our path, our alignment. So it could look like deepening and widening and growing and aligning with our source, whatever we call it. We've said that a lot. It could be our own unique experience of spirit. It could be our own hero's journey. And it could be just like walking our own true way, step by step. It doesn't really matter to me. I know that it seems weird in our society where it seems to matter how you talk about this. But from my perspective, how we talk about it is very different all the time. But what's the same is our dedication. And as mystics, I see so many of us so dedicated to doing this, being this. And it makes such a difference in the world. Do you want to say something about that?
Well, I just fully agree. And in that dedication, I mean, you talked about how the understanding and relationship changes over time. The only constant is change. And to think that our understanding of source would remain static or the same throughout our lives. I mean, I know that there are a lot of people that do believe that, and I respect your opinion and how you want to live, for sure. I know from my own experience that as I grow, it would just make sense that as we grow individually, then our relationship with the divine grows. As
Yes.
we deepen in understanding of ourselves and life on this plane, our understanding, our personal understanding of source would change and grow. And so that makes it even more important for us to be able to hold where we are and allow where others are too. Because we're actually all talking about the same thing. We're
Yes.
just experiencing it in different ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yes. And to finish today, I'd like to bring up something that we plan to talk more of, like at the end of this season. But it's so needed, and it builds on this alignment with source, I believe. It's so needed in our society. And we talked about this last time. There's so much tumult, there's so much desperation, there's so much fear, there's so much pain. And that in the mystic journey, we can learn to live in hope, not desperation. We can learn to live in love and not fear. We can learn to live in stability from the inside out. It's a huge gift for ourselves and for the people around us and our world to be stable, to be love, to be hope in a difficult world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And we will talk more about that in future shows as we all move forward and through all that's going on together. And we hope that you will find this a safe place to come and find inspiration and ideas to help you on your own journey. And so as we do, just going to close this episode with a little meditation. And so go ahead and close your eyes again. And let's all take a nice deep breath in and out. And allow yourself again to drop into your heart space. And you can even tune into the idea of a beautiful ball of light there, beautiful spark of the divine there. And see if you can let that light, that spark, just get a little bit bigger. As you tune into your own feeling, your own sense of the divine, of source, the God of your heart, of the sun, of the cosmos, of the universe. Let it just fill your heart space. And with that, we wish you all the best for the coming week, and we will look forward to seeing you next time on Mystic Revolution.
And that concludes this portion of Mystic Revolution. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to get notified of new content. Don't forget to like and share. Join the Mystic Revolution. Click on the link in the description to get more information or visit themysticrevolution.com. Another creative art production by Retro Earth Studio.
This series is really for you if you have mystic sensibilities or interests, or if you've been practicing forever. This is a place for all of us to join together